Nick Rose, Peter Schrager, and Kyle Brandt all here. We have some breaking news this morning, so let's hit the lead block. Welcoming in our very own Ian Rappaport at the Rap Sheet this morning with the report out of Washington that the Redskins are indeed moving on from head coach Jay Gruden. What can you tell us, Ian?
Okay, the Redskins have now made it official, firing Jay Gruden, which they did earlier this morning at about 5 a.m., a little after 5 a.m. Bruce Allen and Dan Snyder informed Gruden that they were firing him after the 0-5 start, now in search of another head coach. Bill Callahan, the former Raiders coach and former Nebraska head coach, is now the interim, which allows him to do a couple things. First of all, the hope, of course, is that they steady things a little bit after a disastrous start. And then the other part of this, guys, is Kevin O'Connell's the offensive coordinator, a bright young mind, and one of several that Washington has had in the building over the course of the last decade. All of those guys have left, including Sean McVay. Some of those guys have gone on to become really good head coaches. They do wonder if Kevin O'Connell is the next of those guys. So this, they believe, will allow them to properly evaluate him and see if he is the next. Meanwhile, the Redskins now go from having a head coach on the hot seat, which nobody wants, a continued storyline for weeks and weeks and weeks, to now essentially being allowed to begin their coaching search in earnest. They can begin contacting candidates, especially those who do not have jobs. They don't have to hide anything. They can simply move on with the next phase of their organization. By the way, they're going to have a press conference today. Bruce Allen is going to have an actual press conference at 1 p.m. today to detail the firing and describe why, as they said in the statement, everyone did not live up to expectations.
And we'll bring you that here, of course, on NFL Network at 1 p.m. Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen. A little bit, easier said than done, Ian. They have their work cut out for them, and we will bring you all of the coverage right here all day long on NFL Network. Back here in studio, Bill Callahan taking over as the interim. They have a mess at quarterback. They have a mess pretty much at every level on this team. Schrags, where do they go from here?
The elephant in the room is that the owner's not changing. Daniel Snyder's going to be the owner, and Bruce Allen's not changing, who runs the team. So Redskins fans are coming out in droves saying, it's not Gruden's fault. Look at our organization. We're a mess. Yeah. That's not changing. And as Jed York said so many years ago, you don't fire the owner. That's just what it is. So Snyder's there. Bruce Allen is Snyder's guy. They're going to be there. So how do you move on from this? I think you have to figure out what to do with Haskins in year one. Him sitting on the bench, is that really the best bet for the kid? Or do you now say, okay, let's try to figure this out? And secondly, find the right next head coach. I think Jay Gruden had a fine tenure in 5 years. It ran its course. It's fine. But when you let a Sean McVay walk out of the building, when you let a Matt LaFleur walk out of the building, when you let a Kyle Shanahan walk out of the building, don't let the next guy walk out of the building. If that's Kevin O'Connell, who's this young up-and-coming offensive coordinator, let's give him a real look here and see. Let's not be the team that always lets the best talent out. I think it's going to be very interesting how they play the next 11 weeks and if they play inspired for both Bill Callahan and Kevin O'Connell, the OC.
In his 2 winning seasons there in Washington, Sean McVay was part of both of those, and their one playoff appearance in his tenure also with McVay.
No doubt. And it's wild. With Gruden, normally the head coach gets one shot with a franchise quarterback and make or break it. This guy had RG3. He had Cousins. He had Haskins. Like, he had every chance to make it work. And yet, Peter, I come out in that same direction about, like, isn't necessarily the coach as we look at all those quarterbacks that have run through there, because, guys, it's been 15 years since the Redskins have won a playoff game. 15 years. The last coach to do it was Joe Gibbs. They've had 3 head coaches in that time, some really respected men, including Mike Shanahan, who've come in there and not gotten it done. So I also echo the fans that, like, there's a lot more going on here than just the coach. Jay Gruden was a perfect hire. Totally tenured, respected guy who worked his way up, offensive mind, great, and then this is leaving and this is leaving. Like, I think this is much more organizational than the guy on the sideline. Much more.
Speaking of organization, let's look past all the situations that happened that led to him being fired. But let me speak to the team, though. And maybe I don't need to say this, but I'll say it anyway for any Washington Redskins player. It's a difficult situation. You're 0-5, coach gets fired, and the easiest thing to do is start booking your vacation and quit, quite frankly. Don't quit, man. Everything that you put on tape will forever be seen. This is your resume. You are building it for the rest of the season. So if you're sitting back and you're thinking, it's in shambles, you're walking to that locker room, trust me, I've been there. I've been on some bad teams. Don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to the city. And don't do it to those fans. Think about what they're thinking right now. They're sitting back saying, we have nothing. Give them something to cheer about, at least look forward to next season.
I want to show you guys a clip, actually, last night. Before this all happened, of course, we just got the news this morning that the Redskins did fire Jay Gruden. Chris Thompson, who clearly was upset in the locker room. I'd love to show you guys that sound if we have it here. Oh, I thought we do have it. We don't have it. We'll show it to you. It's he gets very emotional
What's he
about
do?
it.
He's upset?
He sort of breaks down and is upset and says that he's the guy who gave me a chance. He took me from being on the practice
He's a
squad
well-liked
to giving
coach.
to giving me a role on this team. So now this team, as to your point, is having to get over that hurdle and that adversity
gotta
as
rally.
well.
It's telling. There's no by Felicia to it.
No,
it's
there's
like, no, I love
we
that
want to
man.
win.
Right.
Yeah,
They were just
exactly.
overmanned, and now he's gone.